Despite inadequate support for the art world and artists, art in all its forms, including visual art, continues to thrive in Zambia. Inspiration is found almost anywhere, and meaningful and beautiful pieces are created that sadly do not always get the appreciation they need. I'm here in Lusaka, Zambia, to talk to Zambians in the Zambian art world about their pasts, experiences, and hopes for the future of art in Zambia. Challenging normative expectations of what African art should be or look like, Zambian artists draw inspiration from everything they see, feel, and experience. Visual art includes art forms such as fine art, drawing, painting, sculpture, film, applied arts, and many more.
I think art over the years has changed a little bit more, because I think most people are becoming aware of art, and so I think even the locals understand art now.
We have more artists participating. We have more support, I think, from the government, but I think we need more support, even more support, yes, from private sector.
It has evolved a lot. There is a lot of development coming in, and also due to technology. I remember myself, the way I'm working now is different, completely different from the time I used to do it in the 90s.
My name is Owensh Kaweta.
My name is Julia Taonga Kaseka.
Lawrence Chukwa. I'm a visual artist.
And I'm a visual artist.
I paint and I do performing arts.
Many artistic disciplines, such as conceptual or performing arts, amongst many others, involve aspects of the visual arts as well as other art forms. Performing arts are an art form in which artists use their voices and/or bodies, often in relation to other objects, to artistically express themselves. Performing arts include several categories, each performed in front of a live audience.
I grew up half of my childhood in Lower Zambezi in Fue and some of it in Lusaka. I am the CEO and artistic director of Motsi Arts. When I was young, I wanted to study arts, but my family wouldn't pay for it. So instead I studied IT, and I worked a couple of years, but then I quit because I wasn't happy, and I went to pursue art management in Berlin. For us, Motsi is more of underground urban space, and we like to allow artists to have freedom of expression, to give themselves that, to think outside the box. So experimental work is what we're looking more for. No, I do not think art is taken seriously. So for us, it's a real mission to make artists understand that this is a business, it's a profession, and they have to treat it very professional. Artists have to have CVs, they have to have profiles, they have to have their art organized. So for them to get jobs, they need to, organize their lives more. They're applying for an IT job or an accountant job. It's the same thing.
The adverts, maybe? Yeah, I really like the adverts around Lusaka. So many billboards and so many signs.
I'm inspired by experimental work, allowing myself to think outside of my frame of thinking. So I do more of an expression art. I paint, but I don't paint with a paintbrush. I paint with my body or dancing.
The contact with the vets, so quick. It's good. It's been inspiring as a child and a teen. But currently, since I'm living somewhere here, Chongwe, where there's no car passing, no much human, no noise, it's so good, because I speak of birds and the contact with nature.
Sculpture is a branch of visual arts that operates in a multitude of dimensions. Sculpture involves a wide range of processes, and different materials can be worked to create visually aesthetic works.
I grew up in Challenge here in Lusaka, and As a kid, we used to make our own toys. I started doing art um, when I was a kid, and it just grew from there on. And why I do it, I feel like it's a talent, and it's something that I cannot avoid or cannot do without. So even if I stop, it's still gonna come back. So might as well continue doing it. So sometimes I get inspired by maybe this stuff I see, and I feel like I should do something about it, or I should make something about it, maybe to just keep that memory alive. And it depends what material is around me, but I work with mostly all kinds of materials. The way I work with different kinds of materials, it's not particularly maybe like you can recognize like this is my work in the different materials I work with, but I like to experiment and just to give it a different feel all the time. I think I don't like to limit myself. 3 artists I would like to be compared to is maybe the late Lutanda. There was an artist called Lutanda Mwamba. Basquiat, Jean-Michel Basquiat. He was an American artist as well. He passed a long time ago. And maybe another Zambian one, maybe Friday Tembo. Friday Tembo was a sculptor. The best piece of advice I've been given is to do what I love to do. The artist's role in society is very huge, because the artist can notice things that maybe some people don't notice, and I think it's the artist's job to preserve or maybe speak about it or question some rules or some laws maybe.
An artist must be compared to a teacher, as somebody who teaches with his tools, with his skill and talent, You are not doing it, as I said, not only for, to put bread on the table to make money, But the time when you are younger, you don't understand these things. But the time comes when you understand why you have even gone so far. You can't abandon it anymore. You are decided, and that's your life. So that's the role of an artist, is to educate his society with his talent. Yeah. I'm a grown-up copper belt gentleman in a family of, I should say, women. I never choose to do what I am doing now. It's something which I wanted to avoid, in fact, because it wasn't, like it's something which would be accepted by either my family or, most especially the family. Then it took a bit of time. My working process is a bit longer. When you are younger, before I could do things with excitement faster, I have an idea, then I want to draw it faster, but this time it happened into writing. First I write an idea down, and then develop it into drawings, and then when I'm satisfied with those drawings, I transfer into canvas and other materials. I think discovering art for me came from myself, because I never knew I used to draw everywhere. I remember my mom could, she was really sometimes angry with me because I was using the walls in the house, drawing with charcoal, and then, whatever I could see, most especially from the TV. And then I understood, she made me understand, you are not supposed to do it inside here, you do it on the ground. So my first canvas became the ground, when she sweeps and it's nice and soft, then I'll go. My work is being associated over the past years as influenced by the politics, economics and social issues, of which I feel like, not that I feel, inside myself, I have discovered my talent is special, and therefore I should speak for those who are voiceless, who can't speak with the medium. We are not taking advantage as Africans so much of technology. You cannot separate life and what we do most. It's still art. And I was so amazed when I was quite younger in primary school. There was a painter not far from school. And not all my colleagues or my friends in my primary school, where I could go there and start watching him painting, doing portraits and so on. And no one among my colleagues from school, my friends, could do that. So I was like rather to be looked at as a strange or eccentric, Why am I interested in that? And I'm so young.
Most of the times you don't have so much literature about art, or like maybe the older guys, the old artists in Zambia, You can find a few literature about them, but it's not much. So sometimes it's hard, but yeah, so you end up maybe start reading about European artists and stuff like that.
The arts can be a positive contribution to the economy, because as we see, there are a lot of international artists that are coming to Zambia now. That is bringing in a lot of international revenue. So I think the arts is really improving. Music, visual arts, dance, theater, it's all becoming very prominent.
Earlier on, in the 90s, I'm speaking of the 90s because that's my beginning. So there it wasn't much because we had this, political changes, makes, also geography turning to do certain kind of changes. In the 90s, it wasn't so much, open up to like encouraging children and so on. But now, some parents of the new generation have discovered that there's potential in it, and there's something to do with in terms of even finances, because art is a business like any other business. If you an artist, people know it and understand it. With the time, I came to understand it's not only beauty which is important for an artist to express, it's the messages of the content, rather. You can do what is good to look at, nice, but at the end of the day, with time understood, art is also meant to teach society, to tell what's happening and what is the structure of the society.
Visual artists in Zambia experience many challenges, from non-appreciation to not having enough platforms to exhibit their work. The average Zambian citizen has almost no contact with formal art or knowledge of the benefits of art. Despite this, recent strides by Zambian art lovers, as well as the government, has highlighted the need to recognize and appreciate art on a national level.
What I dislike about the art world is maybe trying to... everybody has an opinion what art is, So if I do something, then somebody else comes and says, this is not art. Maybe art is a painting and that's art, because everybody has their own opinion. So I don't think anybody has the right to say this is art or this is not art.
The attitude, the culture policies, I think those are a few things that need to be changed. Our attitudes towards, as artists, how we perceive ourselves, and towards the public, how the public perceive arts. So to have more infrastructure on the arts, so like institutions, we have Evelyn Horn, but we need more of a higher institution, government institution. Maybe adding a degree to that will help improve, a master's thing.
So here, usually we don't have much art here. There is a little bit of art in the streets, because I think the locals don't go so much in the art galleries. So maybe if we can try and put art in the streets, maybe even the kids, while they're growing up, they can still see art, and by the time they're grown-ups, I think they'll maybe have a more understanding of what art is. So I think that's very important for the public also, to look at art, you know, just unconsciously, I think just helps them in the understanding of art and how to maybe process it.
We need to create bridges in between the elder generation of artists and the younger ones. There isn't so much, you know. The other day when the opening of the exhibition, which we have found there were senior artists. Now, because of me, myself, I'm not that senior in terms of age. I'm only, you know. So I was actually busy telling these guys, you know, that's a master, you know. They were like, we don't know him. I said, that's a problem. We need to make sure we bring up bridges between the younger generation and the older generation and the younger generation.
Art is heading towards a brighter future. There are way more artists in the industry. The arts has become it's becoming visible. So I think it'll be more appreciated and artists will be able to take their art more seriously, as well as the private sector, like institutions like telecommunication companies or banks need to be giving more of their, corporate responsibility to more of like art organizations.
Experiencing visual art is an exceptional experience that compares to nothing else. Art takes you through a roller coaster of emotions. Regardless of genre, good artwork can stimulate, aggravate, pacify, and motivate.